straight from the heart of Adrenaline City. Welcome to Chilling Tales by TopThangs. Dive into thrilling moments, epic showdowns, and legendary feats. Your daily dose of awe, right here. Shadows from the Static. In the heart of a forgotten town, nestled between overgrown weeds and the remnants of dreams long past, stood an antique shop that harbored objects of dubious origins and even more questionable pasts. Among these relics was an old television set, its frame carved with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and writhe under the gaze of the moon. This set was not merely an object of antiquity, it was a vessel, a cage for a slumbering darkness waiting for a whisper of life to break its chains. Alex was a collector of the odd and macabre, drawn to the antique shop by stories of its peculiar inventory. Alex's eyes fell upon the television set, and a chill ran down their spine, a premonition of the horror that lurked within the glass screen. Yet, curiosity, that most fatal of flaws, overcame caution. The shopkeeper, a wizened figure whose eyes held too many secrets, warned Alex of the television's nature. "It is not just a machine," he whispered, "but a gateway, a door that should remain closed." But the warning went unheeded, and the television found a new home. Late one night, driven by an inexplicable urge, Alex plugged in the television. The air thickened, and the shadows in the room deepened, coalescing into the figure of a man on the screen. His features were blurred, but his voice was clear, imbued with a power that seemed to reach beyond the veil of death itself. He introduced himself as a guide, a messenger of lost knowledge and forgotten arts. His name was unspoken, but his essence hinted at ancient deities of chaos and destruction, such as Azazel or Baal. The figure spoke of a ritual, a necromancy spell that would bring forth the wisdom of the ancients. Entranced by the promise of forbidden knowledge, Alex agreed, unaware that the spell was a key, a means to unlock the chains that bound the demon within the television. The ritual required an array of esoteric ingredients, each more peculiar than the last, and a recitation of words that seemed to twist the tongue and corrupt the air around them. As the final word was spoken, a silence fell, oppressive and expectant. Then the screen flickered to life, not with the visage of the guide, but with a swirling darkness that spilled forth from the frame, coiling around Alex like a serpent. The demon, now freed from its electronic prison, revealed its true nature. The television was its vessel, and the ritual was not for summoning wisdom, but for breathing life into its dormant form. The demon, a master of deceit and manipulation, had tricked Alex into completing the spell that reanimated its vessel, allowing it to walk the earth once more. As the realization dawned on Alex, the room faded away, replaced by an endless void where the demon's laughter echoed, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Alex was left in the darkness, a pawn sacrificed in a game that spanned millennia, their fate a testament to the dangers of unbridled curiosity and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. And so the demon walked free, its essence bound to no physical form, but capable of corrupting any who dared to seek the secrets that lay beyond the veil. The old television set remained in Alex's home, a silent sentinel and a grim reminder of the cost of reaching into the shadows for power that was never meant to be wielded by mortal hands. The Ouija's hidden path. Beneath the veil of a seemingly ordinary world lies a tapestry of shadows, woven with the threads of forgotten lore and forbidden knowledge. This tale begins with a group of friends, bound by curiosity and a thirst for the unknown, who sought to pierce that veil through a medium as ancient as it is dangerous, the Ouija board. Their journey led them to an abandoned church, a relic of a bygone era, its spires lost to time, and its halls echoing with the whispers of the past. It was here, amidst the decay and desolation, that they chose to play, to call out to the spirits that lingered in the shadows. But what answered their call was not a lost soul or a benign presence, but a guide, a voice from the darkness that promised secrets hidden beneath the church itself. Guided by the spirit on the Ouija board, they discovered a hidden tunnel, its entrance obscured by rubble and decay. With hearts racing and the light of their flashlights piercing the darkness, they ventured into the bowels of the earth. There, they found a small box, its surface etched with hieroglyphs that seemed to writhe and shift in the dim light, symbols of black magic that whispered of power and peril. Driven by a compulsion they could not resist, they opened the box, unleashing a force that had been bound for centuries. Asmodeus, a demon of wrath and lust, a prince of the infernal realms. The air grew thick with power, and shadows coiled around them as Asmodeus, freed from his prison, sought a host among them. One by one, the friends fell prey to the demon's wrath, their screams echoing in the darkness as they were consumed, their existence erased from the world as if they had never been. Only one remained, a vessel, now for Asmodeus, a mask of flesh for the demon to wear as he walked the earth once more. The possessed friend returned to the world, blending seamlessly into the bustling city, a wolf among sheep. To the outside world, they were unchanged, their demeanor calm, their smile benign. But behind the facade lurked a darkness that hungered, a demon biding its time, savoring the freedom it had been denied for so long. Asmodeus, through the eyes of his host, watched the world with a predator's gaze, his presence a shadow that fell across the city, unseen but palpable. Those who had known the group spoke of them in hushed tones, their disappearance a mystery that would never be solved, their fate a cautionary tale whispered among those who dabbled in the occult. And so the story ends, not with closure or peace, but with a question, a warning about the price of curiosity and the dangers that lurk in the shadows. For in the pursuit of the unknown, one may find more than they bargained for, and the veil that separates the world of the living from the realms of the dead is not to be lifted lightly. Whispers through the walls. In the heart of a sprawling city, amidst the hum of life that never sleeps, there was an apartment building as nondescript as any other, save for the peculiar tales that seemed to cling to its walls like shadows at dusk. Within this building, on a floor caught between the heavens and the earth, lived Tim, a man ensconced in the solitude of his existence. His life was a routine of simplicity, work from home, order in, and never venture beyond the threshold of his door. The world outside was a distant memory, blurred and fading. Tim's apartment, a sanctuary of silence and order, began to betray him. It started with noises, subtle and easily dismissed as the whispers of the building settling into its foundations. But as days melded into nights, the sounds grew more persistent, an undercurrent of whispers, footsteps, and most unsettling of all, the soft, inconsolable crying of a child. Driven to the brink by the ceaseless noise, Tim's mind raced with theories. The walls, thin as paper, must be carrying the sounds from a neighbor's apartment. Obsessed with finding the source, Tim committed an act of desperation. He poked a hole through the wall, peering into the unknown. Through the tiny aperture, Tim's gaze fell upon a scene that chilled him to his core. A child, alone and weeping in the corner of a dimly lit room. The sight was haunting, a stark contrast to the life Tim knew within his own walls. Compelled by a mix of concern and an unsettling curiosity, Tim approached his neighbor's door. The man who answered was a figure of pallor and neglect, his eyes hollow, his voice a whisper that carried a chilling assurance. Everything is going to be okay. The words echoed in Tim's mind as he retreated to his apartment, the weight of unease settling over him. Yet the crying persisted, a lament that seemed to seep through the very fabric of the building. Weeks passed, each day a test of Tim's sanity. Driven by a desperation to end the torment, he reached out to the authorities, hoping for an intervention that would silence the ghosts that haunted him. When the police arrived, their investigation took a turn as dark as the deepest night. They returned to Tim's door, not with answers, but with accusations. In the neighbor's apartment, they had found a toy chest, within it, the lifeless body of a child, and nearby, the strangled form of the neighbor Tim had spoken to. Tim, ensnared in a nightmare, found himself the prime suspect of a crime too grotesque to comprehend. The world he had shut out now invaded his life with the ferocity of a storm, tearing apart the fragile peace he had built. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, the shadows receded to reveal the truth. Forensic evidence cleared Tim's name, painting a picture of a tragedy that had unfolded months before Tim had ever heard the cries. The child and the neighbor were dead long before the noises began, their spirits unrested, reaching out from beyond the veil. Tim was left to grapple with the reality that his isolation had drawn him closer to the world of the dead than the living. The apartment, once a haven, now stood as a monument to the echoes of lives lost, a reminder that sometimes The walls we build to protect ourselves can become the very barriers that isolate us from the truth. In the end, Tim's solitude was broken, not by the company of the living, but by the haunting presence of the dead, a chilling testament to the thin veil that separates the worlds of the living and the spirits. And as the city continued to pulse around him, Tim was left to ponder the true nature of isolation and the unseen forces that can shape our lives from the shadows.